Hey there, everybody. It's your good pal Dustin back with another episode of Turned Around. I had meant to take a shower before this, but I forgot. I'll do it after. Oh well, it is what it is. I know y'all wanted to know that, so there you go. Anywho, we are continuing our series on the seven deadly sins. But before we get to any of that, I hope you had a wonderful Sunday. I hope you got to do whatever worshiping God is like for you, whether it's going to church, whether it's reading your Bible, whether it's just listening to Christian music and singing along, or if I am honored enough, it is watching my videos. But whatever way worshiping God is for you, I hope you got to do it today. I hope you had a blessed Sunday, and I hope you have a blessed and wonderful week ahead. So, as I said, we are on episode 79, continuing our series on the seven deadly sins, and we are moving on to envy. So, we have done wrath, pride, sloth, envy. We're on the fourth one. I'm not doing these in any particular order, by the way, just so, because there's opinions on which ones are like what one is number one sin, which one is kind of the lowest of them, but I think that's all based on opinion and conjecture, not anything concrete. So, not doing these in any order, just doing them as I decide which one to do. So, let's see, we got envy, we see breath, pride, sloth, envy. We have lust left to do, greed, and gluttony. Out of those three, I'll probably do lust last. Maybe. Because I think I think that's one that pretty much everybody struggles with at some point or another in their lives. But today we are on envy, so let's get started before I get too much off on a tangent. So, what is envy? When most of us hear the word envy, we think about the things we want that others have. Nice car, nice house, a loving family, etc. We look at our neighbors, we see they have something we want, we get jealous, we are envious of them, we want what they have. And sometimes when it's taken to the extreme, we'll do anything and everything to get it. Envy could also be seen as self-disappointment, though. We think we have failed in life because we do not have the nice things others have. When you see your neighbor with a nice car, you might think, man, I've failed in life because I don't have this thing. I have failed somewhere because I don't have the means to get this thing, whatever that thing might be. So, envy could also be seen as self-disappointment, and that disappointment bleeds over into frustration, which eventually leads to anger and entitlement until it is all we can think about. When you constantly think about what others have, eventually you get frustrated, and frustration can lead to anger and you thinking, I deserve that, not them. Entitlement. So that is another way to look at envy. And as we will see as we go forward, I think the self-disappointment is more the root cause of envy rather than just wanting what others have. And I will explain that as we go. Envy eats away at the soul. Envy erupts in many forms. It erupts through gossip. Hey, did you hear what the Joe Blow down the street got? Through harm wishing. Man, that person doesn't deserve that. I hope they lose everything. And rejoicing in another's misfortune. I knew they didn't deserve that. Serves them right. Those are just examples if you couldn't tell. So, it harms us to our very core. As someone once said, nurturing envy is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So when we nurture envy, it is like we are drinking the poison ourselves. We are harming ourselves more than the person we are envying. We are hurting our souls, our hearts, our minds, and the other person just doesn't know. They're just like going about their day and and then we wonder, well, why aren't they getting what they deserve or whatever? And then, of course, that leads to more negative thoughts, that leads to more negative actions, etc., etc. So, envy is a poison. Chaucer, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but wrote that envy is the worst of sins. Again, I feel that's all opinion and conjecture, nothing that's in concrete evidence, but that's my opinion, as I think that is this person's opinion. For in truth, all other sins are at times directed against one special virtue alone. But envy takes sorrow in all the blessings of his neighbor. That comes from Parsons' Tale, pages 488, 49. I assume that's pages, maybe it's paragraphs, maybe it's lines, I don't know. So if you want to look that up. And while I can see where they're coming from, I disagree with the at times directed against one special virtue. I believe all of the 7 deadly sins lead into being directed against multiple virtues, which I've kind of covered in other ones. Wrath can lead to you doing bad things. It's like, I don't think all other sins are directed against only one special virtue by itself. Even at times, I think all sin targets multiple special virtues. Now, I don't know what they consider special virtues, so that could depend on what they constitute as a special virtue, I suppose. But to me, I think all sins, especially the 7 deadly sins, are directed at multiple special virtues. But I do agree that envy takes sorrow in all the blessings of his neighbor. Envy makes you feel sorry for yourself because of all the things your neighbors have. And envy is always personal. It's always personal. It requires another person to happen. We can't envy a boot or a slide, for example. Now, maybe you might say, well, I mean, we can envy a bird because it can fly. Well, technically, people can fly too. We just need a machine to do it. I mean, yeah, we can't fly. We don't have wings. We can't fly ourselves. But we have ways that we can fly. Now, are those things expensive? Yes. Are they something that everybody can do? No. But it is something that people can do, and I don't even know how you would begin to envy a boot. I'm not even gonna go into any possibilities because none of it makes sense to me. So, but we can't envy. We can only envy others. We can't other people. We can't envy things, for example. So with that knowledge, one might reasonably assume envy is a two-person game, the envier and the envied. But envy is actually a three-person game. Because comparison by itself, it's not envy, it's observational, it's just observing data. It's like, you have brown hair, I have blonde hair. Or I guess you say I have brown hair, you have blonde hair, because I have brown hair, so. I have brown eyes, you have blue eyes. You have a Corvette, I have a Ford. It's like, it's just observing things and saying what someone has compared to what you have. That's not envy. It's just saying, "Hey, it's like a scientific analysis of things." So comparison by itself, I would even say it's not necessarily even sinful. Um, it takes more before, again, like I've said before, all the seven deadly sins are an extreme. So comparison is the light side. It's the non-extreme. Envy is when we get to the extreme of comparison, to the point where we think we deserve that and that other person doesn't. Envy happens when that third person enters the picture, and that third person is the person we wish we were. Envy is not strictly about wanting what you don't have, it's about being someone you aren't. You look at your neighbor, you see they have that Corvette, and you wish that you were the type of person that could get that job, that could get you that Corvette. You wish you were somebody else that could have that thing. So envy is more about wishing you were somebody else than just being like, hey, he has a Corvette, I have a Ford. It is, he has a Corvette, why don't I have a Corvette? I wish I could be a person that could have a Corvette. Might not make a lot of sense. I've always felt envy, like pride, is kind of weird, because we've always been told that envy is wanting what others have. But like most things spiritual and biblical, it is a lot deeper than that. And so I'm doing my best to explain that deeperness. You don't just want that job or trip or spouse. You want to be the kind of person that can get those things. Like I said, you see that Corvette, you want to be the type of person that could get that job that could get that Corvette, or that could get that job that could get that trip, or that could get that spouse. Or you wish you could be that good-looking guy that could get that good-looking woman. Or you wish, and I guess the job and the trip would be kind of smushed together, but you wish you were that good-looking man or woman to get that good-looking spouse. That it just, you start thinking that you aren't worth anything, and you start wishing you were somebody else. That is the extreme form of comparison. That is envy. That is when it turns to envy. And the distinction might seem arbitrary, but it isn't. Merely wanting something is different. Some people would see as wanting something to be something that could potentially be good. If you want that Corvette, well, you might work harder to make the money to get that Corvette. You might put in effort to get that thing you want. If you want that good-looking spouse, you might start going to the gym more. You might start eating better, etc., etc. Wanting something can lead to good decisions. That's why I feel like it is the non-extreme version of envy. It is the version that can lead to good things. It is when it gets to that extreme of you wishing you were somebody else, but not doing anything to change. Just wishing and complaining and wishing harm onto others because you think you deserve what they have more than they do, but you do not work for that, whatever that thing is. Working hard is a good thing. Most people would say that's a good thing. Working hard to get the money to get that Corvette, working hard to lose weight, get in shape, etc., to get that good-looking spouse. Those are good things by themselves, because God calls us to do, not to sit. God calls us to act, not to be passive. So doing, working to get the things that you want, I think even God would say is a good thing. Because sometimes the thing we want and the things that God plan to give us are the same. But God is waiting for us to put in the work to get that thing, whatever it might be. Envy is about failure, specifically our failure to live up to the version of ourselves that can have or get the things we want. Envy is self-disappointment turned outward. The version of ourselves that, if you watch the Marvel movies, version of ourselves that is in the multiverse where we made the decision to work hard, to lose the weight, to earn the money, instead of the version of us that just wishes harm on others because they have the things that we don't. We wish we lived another person's life, and that is when it bleeds into envy and sin. Redemption is a 4-person game. If envy is a 3-person game, redemption is a 4-person game. You could say 6 if you want to get technical. But our path to redemption from envy begins by introducing our 3rd person, that person we wish we were, to the 4th person of Jesus Christ. And of course, we all know why it would be technically 6, because God is 3 and 1. But, well, just for simplicity, we'll just say 4. To us who constantly ask, why am I not? Jesus tells us, you are. You are an heir to God's kingdom. Romans 8:17. You are a child of God in Galatians 3:26. You are beloved by God. Ephesians 5:1. Jesus doesn't compare us by who we wish we were. He calls us and shows us what we will be in the future through Him and through God and through our relationship with Him. Because envy cannot exist where the promises of Jesus are proclaimed. Promises of Jesus where they are proclaimed, it can only become the setting of our redemption and resurrection from sin. Because what are the things of this earth that we want in compared to the promises that Jesus gave us? The promise of an eternity in heaven, a promise of a relationship with Him, a promise of security, a promise of protection, a promise of strength, a promise of grace, a promise of redemption. What thing on earth can possibly compare to those things we have already been promised by Jesus, by God? So therefore, when we have the promises of Jesus and we proclaim those promises, envy, it doesn't exist. So remember to focus on the promises of Jesus, promises that God has given us. And in that way, your comparisons to the people around you, it's just that, comparison. It's just scientific observation. And it will not ever bleed into envy. As always, I thank you for being here. I love you so much. You are wonderful. You're wonderful for even putting up with my videos. I know, again, I am not the best speaker. I'm not eloquent. But I hope that you get something out of my words. I believe that my words are God given. Don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but I believe they are God given. I believe they are the words God wants me to say. I just don't say them very well. And I think I'm getting a little better as I do this, but I guess that's for you all to decide. But I thank you for putting up with me. I thank you for watching my videos. I love you for all the likes, the shares, the subscriptions. I love you all, and I want you all to remember that I love you. God does love you. And I want you to please remember to love yourselves, and as Jesus commanded, love those around you. Till next time, my friends. Bye!